Have you ever wondered why, despite your ambition, your hard work, your late nights spent dreaming, wealth still feels like a distant kingdom locked behind invisible gates? Why does it seem like some move effortlessly toward abundance, while others, no matter how much they hustle, remain trapped in cycles of scarcity? Here's the forbidden truth they rarely teach. Money is not pursued. It is magnetized. And the magnet is your subconscious. But there's a catch. The subconscious mind does not respond to force, effort, or logic. It responds to impression. It obeys symbol, emotion, repetition. The language is older than words. And until you learn to speak its language, you will be like a king trapped outside his own castle, begging for coins at the gate. But tonight, that changes. Because hidden in ancient wisdom, encoded in mystical schools from Kemet to the Vedas, and whispered through the teachings of mystics and prophets, is a secret. You can trick the subconscious. You can bypass the mental gatekeepers. You can implant millionaire thinking like a sacred sigil deep into the throne room of your mind, where reality is rendered before you even lift a finger. In this transmission, we will decode why the subconscious is the architect of your external wealth, how the ancient initiates hacked their own minds to command fortune, and the mystical methods you can use to embed new realities without fighting, forcing, or failing. This isn't about thinking positive. It's not about vision boards or reciting tired affirmations. It's about mastering the mechanics of manifestation at the root, where belief becomes biology, and biology bends reality. Long before the modern world crowned money as king, wealth was understood as something far more mystical, an emanation of inner mastery, not external labor. In the temples of ancient Kemet, Egypt, the priests taught that material abundance was merely the shadow of a deeper spiritual alignment. Gold, to them, wasn't valuable for its glitter. It symbolized immortality, a reflection of the soul's ability to command matter itself. The Vedic sages of India spoke of Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, beauty, and fortune. Yet she was never summoned through begging or striving. She responded only to those whose internal frequency harmonized with prosperity itself. In other words, become the vibration, and wealth must follow. Even in the forgotten mystery schools of Greece, initiates were taught through the Eleusinian mysteries that the external harvest of life, whether crops, love, or gold, was a mirror of the subconscious seeds sown deep within. Across continents, across centuries, a shared doctrine echoed like an underground river, as within, so without, as above, so below. But here's the part they deliberately buried in history. The subconscious mind, what the Egyptians called the Ka, the Greeks called the psyche, and the mystics called the heart mind, does not reason. It remembers. It obeys. It does not question what you plant into it. It simply magnifies it. Whether you imprint it with visions of lack or with silent, burning certainty of limitless wealth, it builds the world around you with equal devotion. But over time, this knowledge was obscured, not lost by accident, but hidden, suppressed. As empire after empire rose, the ruling classes realized a population that knows its subconscious can mold reality, cannot be enslaved. And so, they buried it. They replaced sacred wealth codes with doctrines of hard labor, guilt, and spiritual poverty. They taught that virtue was struggle, and that material success was either sinful or reserved for the chosen few. They severed the mind from the spirit from the body, and chained humanity to an external grind, blind to the reality that the outer is merely the echo of the inner. But those who remembered, those who protected the ancient arts, understood a deeper, almost forbidden truth. The subconscious can be programmed, and the programmer becomes the god of their reality. Today, buried under centuries of noise and disinformation, that knowledge waits, silent but intact. And if you can learn to trick the subconscious, to bypass the layers of programming installed by society, by trauma, by time, you will find that millionaire thinking isn't something you achieve. It's something you remember. And wealth? Wealth becomes the most natural consequence of your being. In the next section, we will dive deeper into how the subconscious was designed, not as a prison, but as a portal, and how by understanding its rules, you can reprogram the simulation itself. Stay with me, because once you see behind the veil, there's no going back. The subconscious is not your enemy. It's not even your servant. It's your most loyal, but most easily deceived ally. To understand how to trick the subconscious into millionaire thinking, you must first grasp one sacred law. The subconscious does not distinguish between reality and imagination. It accepts whatever you impress upon it, especially when delivered with emotion, repetition, and symbolism. Think of your subconscious as the original sacred soil, ancient, fertile, ready to birth whatever seeds you plant deep enough. But here's the critical secret. You cannot argue with the subconscious. You cannot negotiate it into new beliefs with facts, statistics, or rational goals. Because the subconscious doesn't speak the language of logic. It speaks the language of experience, emotion, myth, and feeling. This is why a single traumatic event can burn a limiting belief so deeply that no amount of adult reasoning can erase it. And why a single powerful visualization, felt vividly and repeatedly, can implant a millionaire identity so deeply that reality itself must rearrange to reflect it. The ancients knew this. When Egyptian initiates were inducted into the mysteries, they were not lectured. They were immersed. They lived symbolic rituals, walked blindfolded into labyrinths, confronted death and rebirth through emotional initiation. Why? Because experience bypasses resistance. Symbol burns past the conscious mind and sinks directly into the subconscious. Modern science stumbles upon this truth and calls it neuroplasticity, or emotional memory encoding. But what the mystics knew, and what the 2% still use today, is this. If you can feel it as real, your subconscious will make it real. Not someday, not maybe, inevitably. Because the subconscious is the soil of manifestation, and what you water with emotion and repetition grows, no matter what. Here's where most people get it wrong. They think positive thoughts, but feel scarcity. They say affirmations, but broadcast doubt. And the subconscious listens not to the words you say, but to the frequency you vibrate. It is vibration, felt emotion, that the subconscious obeys. This is why imagining yourself wealthy once doesn't change anything, but saturating your being with the feeling of wealth day after day, night after night, tricking the subconscious into believing it's already true, shifts your base frequency. And once your frequency shifts, the material world has no choice but to obey. This is the lost art of impression over intention. You don't wish for abundance. You don't plead for success. You become the frequency that demands it. Not with effort, but with inner certainty so deep it echoes into your very aura. Now that you understand the subconscious mind is shaped by emotion, not logic, by experience, not information, we must step even deeper into the sacred mechanics of how to trick it into millionaire thinking. The ancients knew it is not enough to feel abundance once. You must create a new myth within yourself, a living legend where you are already the sovereign of wealth. Because here's a secret buried under centuries of spiritual confusion. The subconscious mind is myth-driven. It does not live by facts, it lives by story. And whoever writes your internal myth, writes your reality. This is why religions were encoded as parables, why ancient tribes passed power through symbols, not syllables, why kings crowned themselves not with proof, but with gold, ceremony, and sacred rites. Because ritual rewrites identity, and identity commands destiny. When you want to implant millionaire thinking into your subconscious, you are not just installing new beliefs. You are authoring a new myth, where you are already the wealthy one, the chosen one, the inevitable manifestation of prosperity. And here lies the paradox. You cannot argue your way into wealth consciousness. You must feel your way into it. Through symbols that bypass the logical mind, through rituals that make the imaginary feel inevitable, through obsession so profound that reality must bend to your certainty. Let me reveal a technique the 2% have used for millennia. They create mental sigils, sacred symbols tied to intense emotion. These symbols might be visions, emblems, phrases, anything soaked in energy. They focus on them daily, embedding them so deeply that their subconscious cannot distinguish between desire and destiny. Eventually, to the subconscious, it is already real. And reality, being nothing but the echo of the subconscious blueprint, must comply. This is why an heir to a dynasty never doubts his wealth. His environment, his rituals, his very ceremonies have burned his identity into him from birth. You must become your own initiator. You must create the same level of inner ceremony, not once, not twice, but relentlessly, until the line between who you hope to become and who you are collapses completely. Here's what few understand. Visualization without embodiment is fantasy. Affirmation without ritual is noise. Desire without obsession is weakness. The subconscious doesn't listen to casual wishes. It listens to conviction. It bows to certainty. Every ancient text hints at it. Ask, believing it is already given. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. The subconscious is not an adversary to fight. It is the holy ground you must impress, enchant, dominate, with the certainty of who you already are. And the moment you saturate it, not with effort, not with hope, but with emotional inevitability, wealth is not attracted. It is summoned. It is demanded. It must appear. Because reality is nothing but the servant of the sovereign subconscious. And you were never meant to be a beggar before the gates of fortune. You were born to command them open. Practical application. Now that you know the sacred mechanics, it's time to move from knowledge to power, from theory to transformation. To trick the subconscious into millionaire thinking, you must not merely think differently. You must ritualize it. You must breathe it. You must live from it, until it ceases to be practice and becomes your native frequency. Here are the 3 forbidden practices the ancient masters would whisper behind temple doors, updated for your modern command. 1. Symbolic saturation ritual, the wealth sigil. Your subconscious is a vault, but it doesn't open with words, it opens with symbols. Your task, create a personal wealth sigil. Choose or design a symbol that represents limitless wealth to you. It can be an ancient glyph, a personal logo, a geometric pattern. What matters is its emotional charge. Every morning upon waking, and every night before sleep, gaze at this sigil for 2 minutes, while generating deep feelings of certainty, luxury, freedom, and divine abundance. Feel it as if it's already true, not hoping, knowing. Why it works. The subconscious accepts repeated emotional symbols as current reality. Over time, it will begin adjusting external circumstances to match the internal image. 2nd quantum identity ritual, I am wealth embodiment. Words can deceive. Identity cannot. Every day, step into a sacred 5-minute ritual. Close your eyes. See yourself not as you are now, but as your fully manifested wealthy self, living, breathing, moving through life with ease, impact, and dominion. Speak aloud. I am the source of infinite wealth. I am the master of my reality. I am that I am. Walk, breathe, and make micro decisions throughout your day from that identity, not your old one. Why it works. The subconscious follows identity programming first. When you act as if consistently, the subconscious is tricked into updating your baseline frequency. 3. Emotional anchoring, obsession encoding. Remember, casual energy is ignored. Intensity bends reality. Choose one powerful anchor emotion tied to wealth, such as freedom, power, divine ease, and saturate your being with it daily. Use music, imagery, sacred breathwork, or physical movement to generate the feeling at maximum intensity for 5 to 7 minutes. Link that emotional state to your wealth sigil. The more you repeat this, the faster the subconscious rewrites your self-concept. Why it works. Emotion is the supercharger for subconscious reprogramming. Anchoring intense feeling to specific symbols and rituals burns the millionaire myth into your soul until reality must comply. Important. This isn't about perfection. It's about saturation. You're not trying to force wealth into existence. You are training your subconscious to realize it's already yours. And once the subconscious accepts it, the material world, slow and heavy though it may be, will begin collapsing time and space around you, manifesting opportunities, synchronicities, and resources with mechanical precision. Because reality does not resist certainty, it obeys it. And the one who commands the subconscious commands the simulation. You were never broken. You were never unworthy. You were simply running a program you never agreed to. But today, you stand at the edge of remembrance. You are not here to chase wealth like a beggar before a gate. You are here to awaken the sovereign that was buried beneath layers of fear, programming, and doubt. Understand this. The subconscious does not care what you desire. It does not respond to your ambition, your struggle, or your desperation. It responds only to the identity you embody and the emotional frequency you command. When you saturate your being with certainty, when you move, breathe, speak, and act from the self that already holds the keys, the vault
Not because
opens.
you fought harder, not because you waited longer, but because the universe has no choice but to mirror the sovereign signature you broadcast. This is the forbidden knowledge hidden by ancient priesthoods, encrypted in sacred texts, and buried beneath layers of modern noise. You are the temple. You are the ritual. You are the wealth. Millionaire thinking is not something you climb toward. It is something you excavate from within. And when you remember who you are, the simulation bends. Doors open that logic says should stay closed. Opportunities flood in that effort alone could never create. And reality itself, like an obedient scribe, rewrites the story in your favor. The only question now is, will you treat this as just another interesting idea? Or will you ritualize it, embody it, until your subconscious no longer doubts and your world has no choice but to transform? The kingdom is within you. The keys have always been yours. And the moment you command it with unwavering certainty, reality must bow. If you're ready to walk this path, to no longer hope for wealth, but to command it, then you're already closer than you realize. Welcome back to your true form. This is God frequency, and this is just the beginning.